Nothing really speaks out to me like a really good old-fashioned, laid-back Frieren episode. Such a beautiful sequence, honestly. Just seeing Frieren meditating, sitting by the water, waiting for the creature which is called the Steli, or Stilla, however you pronounce it, the bird that they're trying to capture. And seeing Frieren trying to channel her magic down to the point where, like, nothing leaks out is just outright impressive. And it kind of extends upon everything that was set up many, many episodes ago, especially with the Aura fight, where, like, we found out Frieren has been just holding back her magic capabilities for so long that it became natural to her. And when she finally unleashed the floodgates, like, Aura was completely terrified. And, everybody was shocked about that. It was a completely insane scene within the anime, but seeing like an extra detail where she tries to compress it down even more to where it's like skin tight, to where like no mana is leaking, it fits very perfectly, and it makes a lot of sense why Frieren is capable of this. I mean, after you do this for 800 to 1,000 years, eventually this just becomes common nature to you. It's not really that hard. Maybe like putting it down to skin tight might be a little bit more difficult for Frieren, which is why she says she can't move, but it is still very impressive for someone like her to compress that much mana within her. You gotta think about this. Like, her mana is already massive. Like, when we see her mana, when mages are kind of, looking at her output, it's leaking out like she's a very old and wise mage, despite her holding so much back. So when you factor all of that in, she is holding back like a giant water tap, like, of just mana that is potentially wanting to gush out of her by just meditating. And it's, like I said, it's impressive. But anyways, let's actually get into this episode and talk about a few things. So, besides this sequence of events, which is just really mesmerizing and emotional and just laid back and just chill, just so many emotions, honestly, I want to talk about this character. Denkin is his name. He's a very fascinating character that really stole the show in this episode very quickly. And the reason for that is because when you first get a look at his party members, you get a look at him as a character, your first overall impression of this man is that he is like a very stuck up, analytical individual that might be very proud or feel like he's a really strong mage or something. That's the general impression you get from his character. You get that he is someone that is very proud in his magic capabilities, which makes a lot of sense. But when you start to see more about his character and he starts talking about like mana, magic, and the whole practical exam going on, and just how lives are thrown to the wind because they're wanting to prove who is the first class mage, you find out more about his character. It says a lot about him, that he cares about life, he cares about, the future of magic and mages, and he feels like the overall structure and the methods that the current exam is doing is not really showcasing what magic users really have to offer. And let's talk about that. So, the reason why the exams are structured like they are, for instance, like why we see these, mages competing, why they're so dangerous, is because, they're wanting mages to be on the same level as the mages that fought the Demon King's forces, aka people like Frieren are slightly weaker than her, individuals that are able to fight overpowering foes of demons, etc., and to be able to stand on the front lines and help out soldiers. That is what this magic exam is trying to do for first class mages. However, you gotta think about the current circumstance of the world right now. The world is obviously in a much more peaceful time. Obviously, it's not perfect. There is things that are obviously bubbling and heating up in different areas. We have seen this already within the story. But overall, in terms of what it was probably like 70 to 80 years ago or 100 years ago with the Demon King, it's nowhere near as chaotic as it once was. It is definitely a more peaceful time. And obviously, someone that probably lived around those times with, the Demon King's, remnant forces and all that, seeing the time period how it is a lot more lax, is probably like, we don't need people rushing off to dying and all that being like that. We need to allow them to cherish and grow and feel comfortable and explore magic like it is. Now, is he right about it, maybe disregarding these exams and making them very difficult? Who knows? Only the future really will let us know. But like I said, I really like, his character because it relays a lot about him. Like, this whole little sequence with the tree, I honestly expected him to be a little bit more just, disconnected or not really care about these people that died here, but the way he talks is like, look, I would help these individuals that died here and are hanging in the tree, but soon as I do, I want to be attacked by these creatures up above, and then we're all going to be at risk, so there's literally nothing I can do. This is just a trap set by the forest. And even though he doesn't have a lot of emotion the way he says it, it's very clear by his body movement and the way he is drawn that he does feel a lot of anger towards allowing individual mages just to die like this. It's very upsetting to him. So I like Dengen. Really good character. Like I said, his introduction is very nice. I did not expect to enjoy his character as much as I did with this episode, with his very brief scenes he got. I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to watch this episode and not care too much about this said character, but I know for a fact, man, I absolutely enjoyed this character when he was on screen, and I hope to see more of him, because honestly, there's a lot of characters within this arc that are legitimately interesting. I would like to see them explored and expanded upon, and that's another thing I want to talk about, that this general vibe of this arc is so different from the traditional Frieren episodes, and even though it is different, it still keeps to its normal atmosphere, which is why I started this video off with, like, Frieren meditating at the lake, because this is traditional Frieren-like style of storytelling. But throughout this episode, between the chill moments, you have these very crazy action sequences, like you see in, Fern fighting another mage, and all the other characters fighting mages, and it gets into this action-packed, just high-octane stuff going on, and it's like, yo, this is kind of crazy, because, like, this is pretty much the equivalent of, like, maybe a Chunin Exam or a Hunter Exam, etc. for Shonen series. Like, think about it. Like, think about, like, the Chunin Exam and Naruto, or think about the Hunter Exam and, Hunter x Hunter, stuff like that. That's exactly what this feels like. It's like people trying to get their qualification for being a first-class mage, and everybody's competing, and there's only a certain amount of people that can be able to achieve this qualification. So, everybody, there's going to be probably a lot of deaths, a lot of people injured, etc. And I just like the way this is presented. It feels very shonen-y, but at the same time, it feels very alien as well because of the themes with Frieren tied within it. I don't know, just a great episode. Now, besides all that, I do want to talk about this little scene here with Fern and how she starts mentioning, like, she only needs to use offensive and defensive magic, like basic standard stuff against any mage. And I think that it's very fascinating because even though many people might see Fern's remarks towards fellow mages, like, I only need to use this against this generation's of mages, the reason why she says that is because Frieren is correct. Like, yes, Frieren admits that, she's been beat before, but this generation of mages, they have a lot of pride and ego, and because of this pride and ego, they put so many complications in different magic. For instance, like, if they were to lift up a boulder from the earth, okay, and then sling it at Fern, there is a lot more effort put into using magic to cast that spell and throw it at their opponent with velocity than Fern just putting up her staff and being like, here's a barrier. There's a lot more mental capacity going on there. So when you think about that, it's like, Fern using, like, defensive and offensive magic, a very basic form of it, is the most cost-efficient method because she can continuously spam these out very quickly without really thinking about it, but also be able to outlast her opponent because eventually they would run out of stamina and mana before she does because they're using high-costing magic spells to be able to blow her away. For instance, lifting up a boulder from the ground and slinging it at her, that's going to cost more mana. So yeah, I really like that. Great episode of Frieren all in all, and I'm very impressed because it's like the more I watch this series, the more I get to see of the, these characters and stuff in the journey, the more and more I fall in love with it. It makes me really want to dive into the manga, but I've been holding back. I really have not read the manga yet because I want to finish the anime before I catch up with the manga, but my god, like, what a great anime, honestly. It has truly been a spectacular ride for 19 episodes now for Frieren. Oh, the only bad thing about this anime, if I had to really point something out, is the cliffhangers and the wait each week. To be fair, I mean, it is worth the wait, and there's a lot of discussion for these series, which I'm very happy to see, but it just sucks having to wait week after week, especially when you're left on, like, cliffhangers like this, where, Fern basically mentions, oh, you're the strongest mage, and we don't really get any confirmation on what's really going on here, and that's just how the episode ends. So, kinda sucks, but that's just how it is. It is what it is. But okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Tell me your thoughts. If you enjoyed this week's episode of Frieren, let me know in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video. And with that, Chibi out.